Depends on how you look at it. Like, there's a lot of rules that you got to follow along with, but then you are still free to do what you want, what you can do. So
What does that American dream look like to you?
letting the government stay out of my business and just letting me live my life. That's about it. Not telling me what to do, not telling me who I
She's so pleased with that answer. You can see it on her face. That's pretty funny.
can be with, who I can interact with, stuff like that.
It's at least good to see that a lot of these college students have a positive outlook on the future and are motivated to go pursue their American dream.
Exist.
I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously, like, I'd like to say yes, but, like, part of me is like, no.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know.
What does that American dream look like for you guys in the future?
Maybe like live in a big house, travel, have like husband, kids.
I think so, to somewhat of a degree. You just have to work harder now. It's a lot more competitive, but it's kind of dying out though.
What does the American dream look like to you?
To me, it'd be starting your own business and having enough money to fund a family and live in like a white picket fence neighborhood.
What he's saying, I think a lot of people probably watching this would agree with this guy right here. I think it's dying out. I'll go back to these goals right here. More of the negative outlook, but also the girl saying, oh, well, the American dream is big house, travel. That was, I don't think that was ever the American dream. I don't think in the 40s, 50s, people were like, yeah, I'm gonna travel all over Europe. That's my American dream. But truly, I mean, it is truly subjective. But I think in a general sense, you're just guaranteed the freedoms that America has to offer. You can come here and work. You can enjoy your weekends. You can provide for your family and all of that. I think depending on, I've already mentioned this, but I think depending on where you live in the United States, that becomes a lot less possible for just the average American. But it is also our responsibility to adapt. There's like a million reasons. This is what's so complicated about this video. Is if Morgan decided to go in depth on this topic for this video, there's a million directions that this can go in. Because you could talk about inflation, you could talk about the housing market, companies buying up properties, skyrocketing rents, you could talk about grocery stores, gas, everything's out of control right now, right? And perhaps going back to this poll that I had, perhaps people would have voted differently if someone like Donald Trump, somebody that was kind of looked at as a pro-business president, which that's not just me saying that. That's every single time we're out on the street, people are mentioning that, even if they don't like him, right? Would people feel differently about this? Do they feel more negative right now because it feels as though there's a lot of America Last policy going on with the current administration?
Yes.
What does the American dream look like to you in your future?
Yeah, definitely getting a business and changing lives.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the main thing. And that's what the opportunity of America, it's like getting opportunity.
Yeah.
Because in different countries, they don't get opportunity.
Do you think the American dream still exists?
It does, but it looks different.
What does it look like?
I don't think it's a white picket fence anymore. I think that it's financial freedom, financial independence, which I think to some degree it's always been. But it's a lot harder to attain than before. So I think that's why a lot of people are pushing for entrepreneurship and things like that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You can actually see a pretty decent focus there on entrepreneurship from a handful of these students, and that's certainly pretty interesting. Seeing that that's not the option, seeing that the option of just going down the pathway of working at a company, we know that Gen Z is largely against doing that. Now, that being said, there's still a lot of opportunity, which I'm sure many of you guys know at home, working at a 9-to-5 and or just working at a business and growing within that business. Some of the most wealthy people that I know personally work at a company. They don't own their own company. So to an extent, I disagree with this guy, but also to an extent, I do agree with him because after all, look at what I'm doing right now. Talking to you guys, this is my job. Going out in the street and talking to people on the street, that's my job. People are saying that it looks different. The American dream looks different today. That's true. It's much, much, much different than it was in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Much different. But we also do happen to have supercomputers in our pockets at all times and have different avenues of income that we certainly didn't used to have. You see, the more that I talk about this, the more it sounds like I'm almost fence sitting, but the conversation is so incredibly complicated, and there's so many factors why maybe somebody's life isn't working out in the United States that it makes this conversation almost impossible, because somebody could say, yes, absolutely 100% the American dream is alive and well, and they're, let's say they just got here 20 years ago, versus somebody that grew up in an inner city community, both their parents weren't around and they were dealt a really, really bad hand.